Welcome to Tort Talk Live. We are live from Mass Tort, Puerto Rico. I have myself, Jon, and Joe with us today. Joe is back home in Philadelphia. Jon and I are at the wonderful Vanderbilt Hotel in Condado, Puerto Rico. We have a very busy day to get into. Just because we're traveling doesn't mean we take a week off. Let's hop right into it.
Yep. Joe, thanks for joining us. Wish you could be here. Weather's beautiful, but I'm sure Pennsylvania is nice as well.
Some people call Pennsylvania the San Juan of North America.
The San Juan of North America? The San Juan of the North?
All right, what's the first one we're going into?
Yeah, so talking about social media addiction, it's been the topic for weeks now after that verdict came through in Los Angeles, but it doesn't stop there. Fresh off of the $375 million award in New Mexico for public nuisance against Meta, we now are entering phase 2 of the trial. New Mexico is seeking $3.7 billion in damages. They're just getting hit from all fronts, whether it's the civil actions or these actions from the attorney generals, not just in New Mexico, but across the country. Joe, what's going on here? What can we expect to happen in social media addiction?
And did I hear that right? 3.7 billion
Yeah,
with a B?
billion with a B. A lot of agencies sell services, SEO packages, paid media packages, social packages, but our digital doesn't really operate that way. We build acquisition systems while staying tactic agnostic about how they get there. And we're founder owned. It's Mark and I. So we're not going to force your law firm into whatever the agency happens to sell. If that's the kind of alignment you want, check out RR Digital at rrdigitalmedia.com.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, like you mentioned there, Jon, we had the initial trial. The attorney general from New Mexico brought the action due to the public nuisance. They got $375 billion. Here they're claiming that Meta is a public nuisance. So here they're seeking $3.7 billion. They're saying that Meta created this epidemic where everybody's addicted and they need this money to help remedy it. On the other end, Meta is saying that this amount of award salt and the remedies that they're seeking is untenable and even threatening to pull out in New Mexico if such award gets entered against them. Meta is arguing basically if they created a public nuisance, so do alcohol companies that then lead to people driving drunk. So it's a kind of new theory that they're bringing, the first time it's ever been brought, but the number's really big. And like you mentioned, all of the other attorney generals from every state really is watching to see what happens in this trial. That's going to be decided just by the judge, not in front of a jury.
So what was awarded in the 375 and how does that differ from the 3.7 that they're seeking?
So they were saying that they violated the consumer protection laws. So for each violation, there was a penalty. I think it was maybe $5,000 for each violation. That ended up being $375 million. Here, it's a different claim. They're saying that Meta caused a public nuisance here, and that's why they're seeking that $3.7 billion.
First time I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I mean, the dominoes keep falling against Meta. This is very interesting. And you're seeing this happen across the country. Attorney generals from states all across the nation are pursuing claims not just against Meta. We saw it against Roblox a couple weeks ago, too.
This is wild. This isn't a federal charge. This is a state charge. So if they win any substantial amount of money times, 49 more states, this could be a very large amount of damages for Meta potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And that just shows how important it is to have this multi-pronged kind of attack in these type of litigations, right? We have the MDL, we have state court proceedings, we have AGs. The pressure's really mounting. So hopefully we can get a good result here, get some more pressure, get some changes, and then that will help all of the, personal injury cases that we've been focusing on mainly.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses. I think we all are very intrigued on all the Meta lawsuits that are going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, and don't let Meta fool you, right? 3.7 billion is a lot of money, but for Meta, it's not that much.
Yeah, I pay like partially that much just in ad spend per month. Moving on to Roundup. So last week we talked about the oral arguments for preemption ruling. What's going on with that? What are the updates here, Joe?
Yeah, it happened this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so we talked about the oral argument before the Supreme Court. We're expecting a decision in June. See how that turns out. Not sure if everybody on the plaintiff side super optimistic about that. But while that was going on, we also had the hearing for the basically injunctive relief before the MDL judge. Basically, a couple law firms were seeking relief from this Missouri class action settlement. There was a hearing on April 30th. During the hearing, the MDL judge said that it felt like this settlement was dirty, and he felt like the opt-out provisions was bizarre, and he've never seen anything like this. However, he said it wasn't really his place to get involved, and ultimately it'd be up to the Missouri Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court to see if this settlement was appropriate. But in the meantime, it doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to stop this settlement from going forward. So we have about a month left until the June 4th opt-out deadline. Need to have the wet signatures for that. And then in early July, we have the final approval hearing. It looks like this settlement's going forward, regardless of the issues and questions people have brought to date.
June 4th, less than a month to get all the wet signatures, and it's still an insane deadline.
Yeah, it's coming up on us. So make sure you guys are in touch with your clients, evaluating their case, see how much they would get, and if you think it'd be worthwhile for them to opt out of the settlement. Otherwise, all indications are it's going forward. There's nothing really substantial in the way of this settlement coming to final approval. So be aware of this deadline, certainly.
Definitely keep your ear to the streets in Roundup for the next 30 to 45 days because a lot's going to be happening there. Let's talk about Suboxone. So we have a deadline coming up in that MDL. What is that deadline about, and what do firms and individuals need to be aware of pertaining to that deadline?
Yeah, another important deadline coming up. This one's in June 1st. So back when there was potentially a statute coming up with regard to the label change, in this case, the court allowed people to file a bundled complaint with multi-plaintiffs. The deadline to submit the fact sheet, the PAQ, is coming up on June 1st. So for this, you need the fact sheet signed by the client. You need the proof of usage of Suboxone, and then you also need medical records showing the proof of injury after Suboxone usage. So everybody's really scrambling to meet that deadline. Some of these clients are a little bit hard to get in touch with, so make sure you're reaching out. While we have that going on, we're starting to get the kind of court guidance on what's going to be happening with the Bellwether trials. It doesn't look like it's going to be in 2017, really looking like the beginning of 2018. But what everybody needs to really worry about is that June 1st deadline. Don't let your case get kicked out for missing the discovery. So make sure you're on top of that, staying in touch with your clients.
And I am getting a quick update from the box. I believe Joe meant to say 2027 and 2028, not 2017, 2018.
Yeah, you're right. That was before we started doing Tort Talk. So 2017 and then 2017, not applicable. 2027 doesn't look like we're going to have a Bellwether then either. 2028 is when we'll have that initial Suboxone Bellwether.
Moving on to weight loss, we have the Daubert hearing scheduled for May 12th. What's going on? What should we expect?
Yeah, so we have parallel tracks going on. We have the MDL in New Jersey State Court, and then we also have the gastrointestinal injuries and then the vision loss cases. This hearing's just going to be focused on the gastrointestinal injuries. We'll see what injuries are going to survive. If you guys remember, 6 months or so ago, the judge came down with a ruling, pretty strict. We weren't exactly expecting this, saying that you couldn't have a differential diagnosis. You needed a gastric emptying study to show that the client had gastroparesis. We're seeing over 85% of the injuries in this litigation involve gastroparesis. So following the Daubert hearing, we'll see if any other injuries, prolonged hospitalization, vomiting, maybe some sort of bowel obstruction, if any of those other injuries survive the Daubert challenge, or if this is solely going to be focused on gastroparesis. We'll have a decision probably 60 to 90 days out from that hearing next week on May 12th.
Yeah, similar to weight loss, also in hair relaxer, we have a Daubert hearing coming up. That's May 15th, I believe. What should we expect in that Daubert hearing?
Yeah, a little bit further behind in hair relaxer. May 15th, the deadline for the reply briefs for Daubert. So, initially each side does their initial Daubert motion, then the other side gets a chance for a response, then the reply. is the initial filing party gets to come back and say why the other party was wrong. So we'll get that fully briefed. We'll get the hearing scheduled in that. That's going to be in the beginning of the summer. And then we're waiting to see whether or not the 3 cancers survive. So we have endometrial, uterine, and then ovarian. Are all 3 cancers going to survive the Daubert challenge there, or only do 2 out of the 3 come out? So it's really important to follow along these litigations, especially these Daubert hearings. You'll get a clear sense of what type of cases are going to be compensable in the MDL. We'll bring you guys the updates in real time, as we always do on Tort Talk.
Yep. And these Daubert hearings will have some significant impacts on our next power rankings, because might very much move some people up, might move some people out of the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. Once we get past that Daubert hearing, you usually see the cases increase in the power rankings because the uncertainty isn't there, right? We know clearly what injuries are supported, what can we get in front of the jury on. So as those cases get more mature, they usually climb in the power rankings.
Yeah, but even beyond Daubert hearings, we have a handful of trials slated from now through the summer. We've got the next social media addiction trial coming. We've got more Uber sex abuse trials coming up. There's just a flurry of activity like we haven't seen before in mass torts, and it's for a number of different reasons. And it's really great to see. We're here in Puerto Rico. There's already some buzz. The conference officially starts on Wednesday. Right now, as we're recording this, it's Tuesday morning, but we will definitely be speaking to all the decision makers, all the leaders across all the litigations that we've been talking about for months. We're going to try and get some inside scoop on what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, Joe's not here to get the whispers of the people like he normally does. We have some inside moles that'll be feeding us the information of what everyone's talking about, and we'll be reporting back next week. So don't worry. Our ears are to the street. We have our people around. We'll report back with what we find.
Yep.
Joe, we miss you. Puerto Rico misses you. Enjoy the San Juan of the North. Safe travels in all your escapades in the coming weeks for your own trials. And those of you watching, stay tuned. We've got more coming from Puerto Rico. We'll catch you next time on Tort Talk.